with the news that came out that pretty much said that Zach LaVine is going to practice with the Windy City Bulls for the anticipation of his return, y'all already know all eyes will be on Zach LaVine. So that's what we're going to talk about, and then look into tonight's matchup versus the 76ers. Y'all know we're going to talk about it, but you got to hear the music first. Cognac. Gang. Shy Boys Podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on today's episode of Shy Boys Podcast for me and my co-host C-Dub. So if you're tuning in with us today, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell as well. But hey, you already know, big matchup tonight versus the 76ers. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Zach LaVine's anticipated return. I believe all eyes will be on Zach LaVine to see how well does he fit. Does he commit? Does he buy in? How can will other guys adjust? Will Zach LaVine adjust? It's a lot of questions surrounding this Chicago Bulls team, especially with the way that the team has been playing without Zach LaVine, and can they continue to play the same way once Zach LaVine returns? Now, how does he fit, or how can he potentially fit to the way that the Bulls have been playing better basketball? Now, if we're looking at certain things, I'm looking at Zach LaVine. All the talent in the world, can get to the basket whenever you want to. Hella athletic. Can shoot the three ball at a high clip. Can go ahead and dunk on a couple people if he wants to. We've seen Zach LaVine commit defensively. Is it the greatest? Probably not. But can he show effort? Absolutely. And I think that's what it's going to have to start with. I believe if once Zach LaVine returns to the team, it has to start with buy-in. It's just simple. Start with buy-in. How do you move your body around in a half-court offense? How do you go ahead and generate good three-point shots for yourself? How do you generate good things for others? You know what I mean? So I think that's some of the things we have to look at early on. And I know it's gonna be a bit shaky, you know what I'm saying, once he returns, but it shouldn't take long for him to adjust his game, because he's been watching on the sideline. He's been seeing all the activity that's been going on the offensive side and the defensive side for the young guys, and even some of the veterans. The buy-in has been there. So once he comes back, he has to buy in. It has to be a mindset thing. We've seen Nikola Vucevic adjust his game a little bit. He's been what many have called him to be a passing hub. You can go ahead and feed him. He dish it out, move the ball around. The ball is constantly moving, and Nikola Vucevic has been a huge part of finding other guys open shots. DeMar DeRozan has adjusted his game. DeMar DeRozan has been on the facilitating side of things for the most part of this 15-game stretch without Zach LaVine. DeMar DeRozan, I think, is the biggest example that Zach LaVine needs to look at. This is a guy that can go and get ahead and get 30 on a nightly basis if he wants to, but DeMar DeRozan has been settling with a few 20-point games here. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes probably not even getting close to 20, or for the most part, just doing what he needs to be doing in this offense to help the offense, to take pressure off the young guys, but to allow them to cook for majority of the games. But when they get in a tough spot, DeMar DeRozan said, all right, little fella, I got you. I'm finna get you this bucket. I'll come back to you on the next possession if you're ready. And I think that's Zach LaVine can look at those two players, his co-stars, his guys that's supposed to be a part of the Bulls' core big three. Zach LaVine can look at Nikola Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan and figure a way out how he can still be effective for others, and then look at himself. I think it has to start with being unselfish. He cannot be selfish. He has to look at things in totality. Let's remember, Zach LaVine is the one that asked for the trade, y'all. That's why more eyes will be on him. And then the record is 10-5 without him. If they start to lose, it's going to be a lot of conversations surrounding Zach LaVine as if he's a winning player. There's already been speculation that Zach LaVine can't, buy into this, or he's not a winning player. And I'm not gonna go out there and say that there's no trade market for Zach LaVine. I absolutely believe there's a market for just about every single player, but it depends on what the Bulls want and how valuable does the league view Zach LaVine. I think that's the most important thing, and I think that Zach LaVine has a great opportunity to come in and show the league that, hey, I can fit in. I don't have to go ahead and just take away from what the Bulls have been doing without me. I can add to what the Bulls have been doing. And I think that's what Zach LaVine needs to do. He needs to figure out a way on how he can add to the Chicago Bulls, because we know that with the talent and the scoring ability and the offensive skill that Zach LaVine comes in with, that can make the offense that much more dynamic if the buy-in is there. What should it look like for Zach LaVine being back? It should look nothing. It should look nothing like the time when he left. The last game that Zach LaVine played was against the Boston Celtics, and the Bulls at that point, I believe, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, was 5-14 or something like that. Yeah, it was crazy. And then the Bulls, he went out. The Bulls went on a nice 10-5 run just to kind of help them place them where they are now in this season. I think it's gonna be. I think it's really gonna be tough for Zach LaVine, but I think that he's capable. It's gonna have to come from him, though. It's gonna have to come from him. And I know it is a bit shaky, and it's a tough conversation to have with him, because I know that my co-host C-Dub is like, man, I don't think he should play another game in the Bulls uniform. But at the same time, the reality is what we all said. He's gonna have to go out on the court eventually. And with them sending him down to the Windy City Bulls, they anticipate him coming back to play. So we got to get ready for that. We have to get ready for that. All eyes will be on Zach LaVine, and that's just what it comes down to. That's what it really is. But hey, y'all let me know. How y'all feeling about the whole Zach LaVine thing in totality? Do y'all think he's going to go ahead and be out here to fit in well? Or do you say that, hey, I don't know? Let us know down below. But before we go, I want to talk about tonight's matchup against the 76ers. Still no Nikola Vucevic. But Andre Drummond got a big test on his hands, man. Andre Drummond has a huge test on his hands, simply because Embiid wasn't there in the last game that the Bulls played the 76ers. Embiid is expected to be back. We shall find out as we get closer to the game, but Embiid is expected to be back, and I think that's going to be another huge challenge for Joel Embiid. But I think Andre Drummond is up to the task, because he has the defensive ability to help guard on those pick and rolls, to where Joel Embiid likes to take advantage of those opportunities with guys who like to play drop coverage. But Andre Drummond is a guy who can step up and help on those pick and rolls whenever that switch happens. So I think they should be all right. But I also know that it's going to be a different type of ball game with Joel Embiid in there, especially with the way he's been playing this entire season. So I think that the Bulls, when you look at the 76ers, you got to come in here and handle business again. That's just what it is. You already played this team. You got yours. They want their lick back. So they might come out with a little bit of sense of urgency, you know what I'm saying, early on, and try to take the Bulls out of it. And the 76ers are at home. That's the challenge. The 76ers should be at home. And I think that when you play these guys, the 76ers at home, it's going to be a tough matchup. It's always a tough matchup, especially when you're going against, you know what I mean, the one of the top teams in your Eastern Conference. That's just what it comes down to. I think that Kobe White is starting to, find that consistency again. The slump was a real thing, but he was still effective in other ways. But I think that the scoring output needs to be top-notch tonight. I also look at other guys who had a great impact and who's been performing well, like a Patrick Williams. And then you still just need your others to come in and fill the voids correctly. That's what it needs to come down to. You look at all these things and consider them all, and you say, hey, we'll see what happens. That's how you look at Chicago Bulls basketball. But I do know that they will show effort on the defensive side. I do know that these guys will get out on the run. We want to see if that three-point shot falls tonight. We want to see if these guys rebound together as a team. You want to see what these guys could do as a collective to make sure that things don't go sideways against these 76ers, because tomorrow night you take on the New York Knicks in a back-to-back. So the Bulls need to handle business and try to handle it the best way they can, nice and early, and we can get up out of there. You know what I'm saying? No overtime. Ended in regulation. Ended in regulation because we need to be prepared for a tough New York Knicks team that just got RJ Barrett. No, they let go RJ Barrett, but they just got OG Anunoby. So it's gonna be a different team over there, a different feel over there, and the things that they trying to do, so we shall see. We shall see. But that's it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know who you think will win tonight's game versus the 76ers. Y'all already know this is another episode of Shy Boys Podcast. I'm Bobby. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Cognac.